I'm Bob Whaley, the director of the Pumphouse Players production of See How They Run. See How They Run was the first production I directed for Pumphouse. Also, it was the first production I directed for adult actors. So it was a big step for me. And to do it in this theater where somebody who everyone in this community just looks up to so much created, it was a wonderful experience. I read the script and it was extremely funny, as farces usually are. It had a really interesting idea for a set. We had 5 doors on the stage in the Pumphouse, which is, not to brag too much, but that's kind of a feat of engineering. The stage is not the biggest, so we definitely had to work my geometry to make that work. Primarily a set guy, but as far as direction, I really thought it was something that would serve the Pumphouse well. Comedies are always fun to do, and you can learn so much in a comedy, and I consider myself to be more of the teaching type of director, and I was very excited to work with some of my peers and show them some of the tips and things that I've picked up over the years, and really show them how to make a vision come together that's a little different than what's presented on paper. Directing See How They Run, like directing any other comedy, is very fun. Directing a comedy, you just come in and you work with these wonderfully talented people and you just have fun and make jokes the entire time, because that's what the show is. It's nothing but a series of jokes end to end. Some of the standout performances in my mind would be, we had Jesse Kuipers, who played Ida, and Jesse came in and made this bit part into one of the most hysterical things anyone has ever seen on stage in Cartersville. Scott Walker came in and, a very pronounced Georgia accent, and we worked our tails off, and he got to the point where he did not sound like he was from down home. Actually, I could rave on every single member of that cast. Dwayne Ellis came in. That was the first show he had done in literal years since he had his stroke. He had auditioned for several things and just never got cast, and we decided, hey, we're going to do this. He clearly wants to be on stage, and that's who we want on stage. So he came in, he worked, we worked and worked and worked, and he had a very good performance, and now you can't get him off the stage. Everything he auditions for, he gets cast in. I like to think some small part of that was sitting at the casting table saying, hey, we're going to take a chance on that guy because he wants to do this. And now you can't hardly look at a show in Cartersville and not see him. Sarah and Ian are both 2 of the most wonderful human beings you will ever meet. And seeing them come on stage and when what they added to their characters and what they were able to even help bring out in the other actors was amazing. And of course we had our bishop, who stepped in Tech Week, and that was the final piece of the puzzle. And then of course Sandy Cunningham was my costume designer, and she just does amazing things with cloth that I will never understand. And also the way she played Miss Skillen, it was not how you would expect it to be portrayed, and that's what made it memorable. Absolutely. The 2 that come to mind was the director of Theater for Youth, which is where I first started doing community theater. That's Lucky Olagi. And then of course Don Kordecki, who is a legend in Cartersville. I mean, if you talk about Cartersville theater, Don Kordecki is synonymous with that. He created the Pumphouse Players. He created the Cultural Arts Alliance of Cartersville. All the companies of which I'm involved are members of the Cultural Arts Alliance of Cartersville. And without that organization, community theater in Cartersville would not exist. Directly, if Don Kordecki had not stepped in to the scene in Cartersville, I would not have near the experiences that I have. There's a lot of self-satisfaction in saying, hey, I did that. Or like when I build a set and people walk in and their eyes go big and they're like, whoa. When I did the Night of the Living Dead set and I put a 3-story set on the Pumphouse stage, that's very personally fulfilling. Honestly, though, the biggest draw I have for the Cartersville community theater community is my work with Act One. We have several alumni that started acting and started really getting into the craft in our company that are in New York pursuing the industry. We have several alumni that, even though they stayed in Georgia, they're a part of Atlanta's burgeoning theater community and Pinewood Studios and all that, and knowing that I had some small part of that, I mean, that's the greatest thing that you could do. I cried like a baby. Again, I mean, words can't describe. If you grew up in the Cartersville theater community and you knew Don was the type of man that you wanted to grow up and be. You wanted to be the Don Kordecki that always knew exactly what to do, when to do it. There was an answer, and to be awarded an honor in his name is just making me tear up right now. I mean, it's one of the most touching moments I've ever had in my life.